morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this video from. However, for Mweni that is with us here, I'm saying to her good evening because Mweni's joining in all the way from Kenya, and so it's good evening at her end, or even good night because it's past 9 p.m. in Kenya.
Yes. It is 9:16 here in Kenya.
Yeah. So welcome. And so welcome everyone to the Training Transfer Effectiveness webinar series. This is the last Thursday for the month, and so we are still on with our series which we started since January this year. And so every Thursday we have been having this webinar series for the past 7 months. Yes.
Wow. Great.
Thank you so much. So welcome. So glad you are here. And
pleasure.
We would like you to introduce yourself. Since you're the only person here, others are. One is a note taker. Do you want to? Since your mic is already on, do you want to introduce yourself? Just tell us your name. So there are 3 ways for your introduction. Just tell us your name, where you're joining in from, and the organization you represent.
All right. My name is Mweni. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm representing Wanti Packaging.
And what's your role?
Can you
there?
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your role there?
Oh, I am the HR and admin manager.
Okay. What did you call the organization again, if you don't mind?
Wandi Packaging. We deal with packaging materials.
Okay.
Wandi. W-A-N-D-I. Wandi.
Okay. Welcome. We are so glad to have you here tonight. And is this your first time of joining this webinar?
Yes. I think this is the first time I've attended this one for Thursdays. I've usually attended the one for Tuesdays.
Okay.
I've never done the one for Thursdays.
Okay, so you're welcome. So today is your day. So let me just introduce myself quickly and we move into what we have today. So this is me. My name is Sandra Ihenacho. I'm the CEO of Embrand Consulting Limited. Embrand Consulting Limited is a consulting company here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am an ex-banker. I'm a CEO there. I'm the humble servant there. Then I'm also a mother of 5 children.
Wow, beautiful. You look like.
Thank you. I am an IFC Global Master Trainer. So IFC stands for International Finance Corporation. So I'm an IFC Global Master Trainer. And what it means is, so we certify trainers and saying that they have the right skills to train. Now they have the right competencies to train. So that's what I do with the IFC, which is IFC stands for International Finance Corporation. It is a sister arm of the World Bank. I'm also a certified assessor with the Learning Performance Institute. Now, the Learning Performance Institute is in the UK. It's an institute that is very high on learning performance. And so, as an assessor, I also assess trainers globally. I'm also a transfer enabler for Africa with the Institute for Transfer Effectiveness. It is in Switzerland. And what we do is we ensure that there is application of every training. We have what we call the 12 levers for transfer effectiveness. And so how do employees, they go for a training and how are they able to apply those training? We create before training, during training, and after training, we create that enablement for them using the 12 levers of transfer. in order for them to be able to apply what they've learned. So that's what we do. I'm also Nigeria's first certified transfer designer. I'm a resource person with the Lagos Business School here in Lagos, Nigeria. I teach on leadership. I'm a certified transformational coach, certified team and group coach, a teacher and trainer for the past 26 years, both formally and informally. And I say when you stop learning, you start dying. So because of that, I can't stop learning. Those remaining two certifications are certifications I hope to get. One of them I'm going to get it this year during our conference, Accelerated Learning by Tom Mayer. Then the second one, I'm planning for that for next year. I'm known as Africa leading voice on training transfer effectiveness. And very soon, I'll let you know what training transfer effectiveness is. I think we've seen someone else has joined us. I think that should be June. Welcome, June. If you don't mind, you can type into chat where you're joining in from and your role in the organization where you work. Just let us know your name. Where are you joining in from? Are you joining in from Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Accra, Ghana? Wherever it is you're joining in from, then also let us know the organization, know the role of where you work, your role where you work. So it would be great to have that. Okay, let me continue. And I usually say difficult roads leads to beautiful destinations. What do I mean? Somebody like Mweni joined in 38 minutes before we started. Until I told her we're starting in 38 minutes time. And do you want to hang around with me? Or do you want to join in later? And she says, okay, let me sign out. I'll join in later. And right now in Kenya, it's about 9:23 p.m. And yeah, she's here learning. Doesn't make sense. I'm sure maybe she's gone to work, came back from work, tired, and she'll be resting now, sleeping off, or even watching Netflix. And she decided that she wants to be here to learn. Why? Because of her goal, the outcome she wants to get out of this learning. And so that's why I said difficult roads lead to beautiful destination. It may be tough. You may make sacrifices that may sound unusual. However, because you know where you're going to, you make those sacrifices. So what sacrifices are you ready to make for your learning? For myself, for where I am right now, I've made so much and so many sacrifices to get me to where I am. And some have been very, very tough. Yeah. However, I stuck to it. So this is what we usually say. Difficult roads leads to beautiful destination. Okay, so we have Mweni Ngwe, Nairobi, Kenya, HR and Admin Manager, 1D Packaging Limited. Thank you very much, Mweni. And June, if you don't mind, you can type in where you're joining in from and the role of where you are in your organization. So this is also what we do every week. Because we believe in application. So every week, all those that were in the webinar the week before, we already prepared their mind, telling them when you come the next following week, you're going to tell us one practical thing you've done. This is a webinar for application. We are talking about training transfer effectiveness, meaning that you apply whatever you learn. So whatever you've been learning from this webinar, you should be applying it. Right? So, and we don't have anybody from speakers. Okay, we have somebody. Is there anybody from last week that wants to tell us what he or she learned? I see a chat. What he or she learned. Okay, hi, June say hello, thanks for the welcome. I'm joining from Kenya too. It's 9:20 p.m. Yes, my role is recruiter and development officer at an NGO. Thanks. You're welcome, June. You're welcome. So we are looking at welcome, Daniel. So who is ready to tell us what's the one thing you applied from all you learned last week? What's the one thing you applied? What practical tip did you carry out this week? From last week to this week, do you want to share your experience with us? Is there anybody that wants to share their experience with us? Anybody? Either type into chat or you unmute your microphone and you can speak. Let me just give some seconds because it takes time for when it comes to live sessions like this, especially when it's online. The rate at which people reply is slower than when it's physical, face to face. So let me just wait a bit. Is there anybody? Okay, so there's nobody. Okay, so let's move ahead. If there's nobody that wants to tell us one practical tip they carried out last week into this week. And so for those that are in this webinar this week, please ensure you carry out at least one thing from everything you will learn today. That's the essence of the webinar. It doesn't make sense coming for webinar all the time and yet you don't apply what you're learning. I think it's a waste of your time. Yeah, no matter how little it is. Okay, I see Daniel. Daniel says, need validation process, assessing if a training is needed or not. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's what we talked about last week, Thursday. However, is there anything you were able to apply? Either you invited somebody, either you read up something, either you went to our YouTube to watch one of the videos, or you went to our LinkedIn to read our articles, or you spoke to somebody about the needs validation process because you got what MVP is. Is there anything practical you carried out last week into this week? Okay, so let's move on. I will be checking the chat box in case there's something Daniel carried out. I'll be checking the chat box. So again, our nature, what we do every week, again, we review what we've done last week so that even those in the webinar this week at least will have a flow. And so last week we talked about debunking the myth, trying to bring out the differences between ONA, CNA, MVP, and gap analysis. ONA is organizational needs analysis, CNA is training needs analysis, MVP is needs validation process model, which Daniel just explained to us now, and we have the gap analysis. So those were the things we talked about, what ONA was, and briefly we said ONA looks at the bigger picture. It's a strategic process in which the organization, you examine the entire organization. And when you're examining the systems, the structures, the resources, to know even the human resources, the technological resources, to see, is this achieving our goals as a business? So that's what ONA does. TNA is more tactical. It has to do with the employee themselves. It's focused more on identifying what are those knowledge or skill gaps of this employee. So that's what TNA does. It also goes ahead to when it is able to define the knowledge or the skills or the gap they need. It starts defining, okay, who are the people, the category of people, what kind of training do we want them, do they need to go to, what are those trainings that they need to be able to bridge that gap. So that's what TNA is, what is popular. A lot of people know TNA, training needs analysis. Then we have the MVP, which is a model we designed as an organization. That's our intellectual property, is our IP, intellectual proprietary just to us, Brand Consulting Limited, right? And so MVP, what it does is it tries to find out when there's a gap, a performance gap, when there's a need, instead of saying it is a training issue. Training is a solution to the intervention. Training is an intervention, which is a solution to the problem, to the performance gap. Instead of doing that, you carry out a diagnostic approach to find out what exactly the solution will be. Is it training that will be the intervention, or non-training that will be the intervention, or an integration of both training and non-training? Then gap analysis. This is just the diagnostic tool to do everything, which it measures the difference from the word gap. That means there's a space, there's something where you want to be and where you are now. That's the gap. So what it does is a diagnostic tool that measures where your current state to your future state, where you want to be, where you are now, where you want to be. It measures that gap there. That's what it does. So that's basically what we talked about last week. And now we move on to what we have for this week. And so, welcome again to the Training Transfer Effectiveness journey. For people like Daniel, I will say your journey continues because Daniel was with us last week. So for people like June and for Mweni, I will say your journey begins because you're joining us for the first time. And today we are going to be looking at return on expectation. I call it ROE Unveiled. I'm thinking I may do this session for like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. This week, next week, and maybe depending. So let's watch and see. Because I know this is a gap for a lot of L&D and HR. This is a gap for even the trainers themselves. Some of them, they don't know how to do this. They don't know how to measure this. So we're going to be looking at return on expectation. And we say from vague expectations to measurable results. How do we, they always say it is very soft. How do you measure it? Even those soft things, when you define it in measurable terms, you can measure it. Yeah. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And so these are our session objectives. By the end of the session, you will be able to explain exactly what is return on expectation. What does it mean in TTE? So for those joining us for the first time, TTE means Training Transfer Effectiveness. And before I start this, I'm just going to briefly explain what Training Transfer Effectiveness means. That's also something we took in the initiative 3 weeks ago to always do, because we noticed that every week we have new people joining. And when they join in, they don't even know what Training Transfer Effectiveness is. Now, how are they able to follow? So briefly, we talk about it every week, no matter how short, we just talk about it. And even for those that have been in class, so that it can stick to their memory. And this is something you start thinking about and looking for solutions to. So by the end of the session, you should be able to explain what return on expectation means in Training Transfer Effectiveness. You should be able to identify why vague expectations lead to failed evaluations. Last but not the least, you should be able to convert 2 to 3 sample expectations into measurable terms. I hope you'll be able to do that. you should be able to do that. So we'll work together and see how that works out. Okay. So now this is our roadmap. We always come up with a roadmap. How are we going to achieve our objectives? Q&A. Yeah, please ask me questions and I will also ask you questions. Interactions, let us interact. As you're interacting, reflect and try to apply what you're hearing me say. Then your next line of action, you're going to commit to forward movement. So those are our roadmap to achieving our objectives today. So now we come to the difference between training effectiveness, training transfer, and training transfer effectiveness. Let me just ask, is there anybody online that knows what the difference is? What's training effectiveness? What's training transfer? What's training transfer effectiveness? I'm just looking at the chat box. Is there anybody that wants to try? Anybody?
Okay, ma. I would like to try, ma.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel.
I would say training effectiveness will be how successful the training is if those who went for the training were able to gain knowledge. While training transfer would be the application of what they learned at the training, and training transfer effectiveness would be the continuous application of what was learned at the training session.
Wow, thank you so much. You got it so covered. I don't need to explain it again. Thank you so much, Daniel. That was awesome. On point. On point. I like that you were able, and you just joined last week. That says a whole lot about you. Yeah? That's a whole lot. That says a whole lot about you. Okay, great. So let us move on. Let's move on. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. So let's move on. So that's just what Daniel has told us. So I'm not going to talk about it. It is the degree to which the training is successful, Training transfer, that's what it is. And training transfer effectiveness, that's what it is. So as you apply it continuous, we want to see. So if you do it well and apply continuous, we want to see the performance improvement, measurable performance improvement. We want to see the business impact, and we want to see intentional structures put in place. If you don't intentionally put structures in place to sustain the application will not be sustained. Quote me anywhere, any day, anytime. And that is why a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, a lot of countries are failing today. They do not have structures to ensure they survive. So some are thriving when you should. Striving when you should thrive. So that's basically what the difference between training effectiveness, training transfer, and training transfer effectiveness. And this sums it up. Training effectiveness measures the learning and engagement. Training transfer measures the application on the job, and training transfer effectiveness measures the sustained performance and business impact from progression from training to impact. So we want you, as you train your people, let's see the impact. You as a business see the impact. And this is what it is. As they learn, they apply, their performance improves, and the business is impacted. That's just it. Awesome. So now let's move to what we have for today. What is return on expectation? Is anybody that has an idea? Do you have an idea on what is return on expectation? What do you think return on expectation is? What do you think return on expectation is? Do you have an idea of what return on expectation is? Anybody? What's the meaning of return on expectation? Is anybody that has an idea of what return on expectation is? Okay, so nobody, that's fine. That's fine. That's why I'm here, and that's why you're in the webinar today. But let me ask, okay, do you have an idea what return on investment is? Maybe that I think a lot of HR and L&Ds, that's what you people know. A lot don't know what a return on expectation is. Is anybody that wants to try? What is return on investment? Okay, so nobody too. Okay, your assignment, go and find out what ROI is. ROE is what I want to talk about today. Now, return on expectation is, you can define return on expectation as, for instance, management says, I love giving examples before I give you definition. Management says, we want our leaders to be able to manage our people better. That's an expectation from management. Now, the ability for you to measure that thing management is expecting is what we call return on expectation. Let me take it again. Management may say, this year, we found out that the manufacturing department or the education department, they don't collaborate. There's nothing like teamwork there. HR, this year, ensure that we want this department within the next 2 quarters. This department, they should work as a team. Working as a team is expectation, is management expectation. Please tell me, how do you want to now measure that? That's return on expectation. The ability to translate that thing management is saying, to meet it, is what return on expectation is. So management is saying, we want people to be able to, the education department to work better. The team, we want them to collaborate. When you're able to do that for management, you've met management, what management wants. You've been able to meet management goal. That's just what return on expectation is. I hope this is clear. So now let me show you the definition. Return on expectation is a measure used to determine the value of training by assessing the performance of learners against predefined expectations, which is management expectations. So unlike ROI, which is mainly money, ROI is talking about money, figures. That's what ROI is, figures. Return on expectation is centered around aligning what the stakeholders want, the expectations, to demonstrate the impact of training. So ROE is centered around aligning and meeting stakeholder expectations to demonstrate the impact of training. I see something on the chat box. Oh, no problem. Okay. So that's what return on expectation is. This is another definition of return on expectation. It demonstrates the degree to which training initiatives satisfy the expectations of key business stakeholders. How did this training on management send people on communication training? Because he said that they are not communicating well. Let's send them on communication training. We want them to be communicating very well. How did that training they went to? How did it satisfy that management want them to come back and start communicating well? How did the training, you send people on team building training, they go on a team building training because management felt that we need to bond, let people bond. So let's go on a team building training or team bonding training. You go for a team bonding training for 2-3 days. Management expects that when you come back, that training you've gone for, that they spent millions for, should be able to what? Bring returns. People should start what? Working together, collaborating together, making sure that you're able to achieve goals together. That is what return on expectation is. Last but not the least, let me show one more definition. Return on expectation is the degree to which key business stakeholders' expectations are met after training. That's it. Whereby the key business stakeholders are met after training. That's what return on expectation is. Now, don't forget what our goal is. We want to know how to help you to define return on expectation, because that's where I found out that HR, that's their problem. So this will be our first case study. Hope you're ready. Now, this is management expectation. Management said, we want better teamwork after this training. We want better teamwork after this training. This was what management said. So now management sent this group of people on a team let me use the word. The training is sent on team bonding. Let me use team bonding. He sent them on team bonding training and said that after this training, this team bonding training, they want people to there should be a better teamwork. Now let's see why management is saying that. Maybe management may have told you why they are saying that. If they don't, ask. So let's see what they asked. And management is saying this because of the following. So we are using an example, an IT department. He said the IT department, they work in silos. The staff hoards information instead of sharing. The cross-functional projects is stall, means it stands still because no one collaborates. Decisions are delayed because people don't share information, and even when they share information, it is too late. When they share it is too late. Amendment said competition amongst each other on whom is the best. That's just not teamwork. We cannot survive like this. Now, these are the things. You're the HR, you're the L&D. These are the challenges. These are the things, the reasons why management said this IT department should be sent on teamwork. Now, how are you going to measure that? What are you going to do? So let me even ask, what's the first step? What are you going to do? Forget MVP. We've done needs validation. We found out that training is a challenge, right? And now they are going for the training, right? I want us to let's take it that way. I want you to be able to, how are you able to define better teamwork? So that you'll be able to measure it. How are you going to define it, how to measure it? So let's try. Who wants to try? No, it's the more you try, the better, and that's how you learn. Because those are the things you get from management. Those are the expectations. So we are looking at return on expectations. So how are you going to define better teamwork in order for you to measure it? How are you going to define it?
Can I give a try?
Yes, please, Mweni, go ahead.
All right. Okay, I think this now is after the training. They have gone for the training and they are back, right?
No, before the training, because we need to measure in order to so that and get baseline data so that we'll be able to evaluate when after the training. So this is before the training. So before the training, you're supposed to, if you've been, so one thing you will do is Samson, please type or Kamsi, please put on the chat box our YouTube address so that those that are here could go and watch those YouTube videos. It will help them a whole lot. So this is before the training. So before the training, you must define the things you want to see, the behaviors you want to see. If not, you'll not be able to evaluate. So you must find out, get baseline data to measure in order for you to evaluate. So please go ahead. So it's before the training.
So if it's before the training, so like we've seen there's no sharing of information. So I will be okay. I think it's already measured.
How is it measured?
Yeah, like the definition there where we said they're not sharing information.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? They're not sharing information. What does that mean?
Means like everybody's just pulling on their own way, their own direction.
How do you know that? How can you measure that?
For example, they stalled what do you call it? That project which has stalled because there's no collaboration.
Yeah, so what does collaboration mean?
It means I'm reaching out. For example, if I'm in IT, I'm reaching out to someone in HR, in finance, in sales, in marketing. So how do you
define it? We are talking about a department. How can you define this? Because if you cannot define this, you cannot measure it. Neither will you be able to evaluate it.
Honestly, I can't define.
Say that again. Let me hear that clearly, Mweni.
No, honestly, I'm not able to put that into words. Honestly. Oh my goodness.
But I'm so happy. I love that you're so vulnerable and you're so truthful. You're vulnerable. And you're saying, really, I cannot. You see, that's the problem we have with HR and L&Ds. They cannot. And with that, you cannot measure. You cannot. Because I am not even supposed to have shown you this, but I gave you expo. What I would have asked you, from what management said, we want better teamwork after this training. They send them on team bonding training. So how would you measure that? How will you be able to measure better teamwork? How? So the first thing you must always do is you must define what management is asking. What does management mean by better teamwork? What does that mean? What does better teamwork mean? So it was an HR and L&D person that says, management, what does better teamwork mean? Now I had a conversation with management and management said, this is what better teamwork means. I mean that the IT department, they work in silos, they hoard information instead of sharing, they don't because they don't collaborate cross-functionally, the project is stalling, decisions are delayed, there's competition among them. No. Mm-hmm. Send them on training, on team bonding. They need to bond, they need to know themselves, they need to be able to work together, be happy. Mm-hmm. It's what management is telling you. Okay, management has told you, okay, it's your work, HR, L&D. Okay, start defining it. Do you want to measure what management has said? That is why when he said,
all right, this is breathtaking. Let me agree.
That is why as HR and L&D, we must be performance consultants. We must learn to ask the right questions and we must think critically, constructively. We must have that conversation with them. So this was after the conversation, this was what came up. Let me share with you what came up. There are 2 case studies. After doing this first one, the second one, you are going to do it by yourself. So this was what came up. We're trying to translate all those things management has said to measurable return on expectation. So a management expectation. The expectation is we want them to work better as a team when they come back from this training. And management has said all the issue that they are working in silos, they are doing this, they are holding information. We've heard all that. It is true conversations now. This is how we categorized what management said. One is information flow. So for them to hold information, that means there's a challenge with information flow. Now, the indicator is what's the percentage of cross-departmental reports or documents shared on time. Now, on time here means you have to define what on time means. Is it within 24 hours? Is it within 48 hours? Is it within 72 hours? Anybody that tells you on time, don't agree with that person. There's nothing like on time. Your on time may not be my on time. Your on time may be 72 hours. Me, my on time may be 1 week later. And I say it's on time. For me, that's on time. So it must be defined. So the first thing is, from everything management you said one of these things should be information flow. The way information flows across the departments. And one of it is, what is the percentage? From it, we found out that it was the percentage of documents and reports shared within the department was 50%. And based on what management is saying, we want to increase it to 85% in 6 months. And so if we want to get it to 85% in 6 months, that means we are looking at reports and documents shared. From 50% that they are sharing it must go to 85% in 6 months. And so you put things in place. How do we ensure they share this information, the documents or the reports, so that our numbers can move from 50% to 85%? That is what you can measure, and that is what you can evaluate. So you found out that it is 50% when it comes to sharing of documents. 50%, they're not sharing documents as they should. They'll be keeping the documents. Why are they doing that? Those are the conversations you have. And you found out that now we need to improve it. Because you could have done maybe, in most of these things, you either did a quantitative survey or qualitative survey. So maybe you did a quantitative survey amongst the department and found that maybe you might use, depending on how you want to use the quantitative data, you may want to use scaling, you may want to ask some questions. And by the time you did that, you found out that 50%, they said, here in this, amongst us, it's only 50% that we're able to share this document. But you want to move to 85%. Now, what should we do? So one thing we're able to find out is information flow. From all management said, we want them to work together as a team. Another thing we found out is collaboration in projects. Meaning that it's because it said there are delays. There are delays in the project. So one of the things we need to measure is their collaboration. How do they collaborate in projects? And this is what we came out with. The indicator is the percentage of IT projects completed with documented input. Now, we found out that in the IT department, there were 2 units that their input were necessary, which was the network unit and the development unit. And so we needed their input was necessary for the IT department to complete their project. So when it was found, I also found out that as at that time we're doing this survey, it was only 40% of the documents that we're getting documents from the network unit and development unit. Why do you think projects will never be completed on time? How can you just be sending 40% of documentation when we need those documentations in order to finish the project? What are you holding it on to for? So we're able to say, okay, now we see 40%. For us to be able to meet up with what management is saying, we need to increase to 70% within 3 months. These are examples. Now, it is through the conversations you have with this unit, with the people you're dealing with, that you would know, how do I now define measurable terms? Because it could be so many things. So what I'm giving you are just examples to help you to start thinking on how to measure it. Another thing you could look at again is the decision-making speed. because they said their decision making is delayed. Now you look at the indicator is average approval turnaround. We also found out that for the approval, it takes 10 days. Why will approval take 10 days? Why? Who is holding on to it? Which person's desk does it take? Where the person's desk is supposed to move to? From the point 1, how long is it supposed to be there? For to point B, point C, is this 1 day here? 30, maybe 20, 30 minutes here? Because of the things they do here, maybe 5 hours. What is the point? Who is the person delaying it? And we said, no, we want to cut it down. We're going to cut it down from 10 days to 5 days. And by the time you check, you know how to do that. With this, you're already defining your return on expectation. The last but not the least is team perception. How does the team perceive themselves? This is the indicator. Team collaboration scores. There was an internal survey that was done, and the team said, we don't collaborate amongst ourselves. And they scored 3. Everybody, they scored 3. After the survey was analyzed, it was 3. Said, no, this cannot happen. We need to move this score from a 3.0 to 4.5. So this is measurable. This is not what you do yet. This is just, we are defining this expectation into measurable terms. After that, you now decide what we will do on each one to ensure we get to where we want to go to. The first point will be first, define that expectation. The ability for you to define that expectation into measurable terms. So to show you now that indeed you can define expectations into measurable terms. A lot of HR and L&D cannot. Quote me anywhere. And if you're watching this video, go and learn. You can. It's the questions you ask. And the people that are involved, from the questions you ask them, you will come together and able to get measurable terms, because it's their work. So you work with them as HR and L&D. They tell you, how do we want this measure? What exactly is this challenge? What does it mean? How can this be success to you? What will you define as success to you? It's not your work, HR. You're just an enabler. L&D, you're an enabler. So this is trying to translate what management said, the expectations of management. We want them to work as a team. After this team bonding training, they must come back and start working as a team. This is a way to try to define it in measurable terms so that you'll be able to evaluate it and be able to get it. Let me stop here and ask, what are the questions you may have at this time before we do the second case study? And you are the ones that are going to answer this case study. What are the questions you may have at this point in time? Is there any way where you need clarification? I know we had some people join in. I hope those that join in, you're able to flow. What are the questions you may have? Manny, do you have any question?
I will evaluate myself in the second case study so that I would to know whether I am really clear.
Okay. Is there any other person that has any question?
Yes, ma'am. I just wish to ask if there are tools that are used in return on expectation, because to be able to highlight the fact that there are issues in IT and all, was it that some tools were used, or how were they able to reach that conclusion?
Okay, so what they did was conversations. They had the conversations. So management was saying, it was IT department. Management said, we want to send IT department, all of them. This is what we've noticed. So the conversations was had with that management that was requesting that, held with the line manager, and even held with the IT department people in order to verify these challenges management is saying. You don't just send people on, say, okay, let's go send them on team bonding training. How will you know that they started working as a team? What does working as a team mean? That is what we just did. We tried to define those expectations into measurable terms so that you'll be able to measure it. So it is them you ask the question. So management is saying that you are not working as a team. What does that mean? But some will say, I don't know what management means. We are working as a team. Okay, this is what management is saying, that people work in silos. They will not keep quiet and say, Say every man for himself here. In this department, every man for. So you're already seeing that there's already something. You must keep that conversation. You must have that conversation enough for you to, if not, you will not be able to define it, because it is not your problem, it is their problem. So you cannot just go and send them on training like that. You will not see any return because you did not define it, you did not measure it. How do you want to evaluate what you did not measure? It's not possible. I don't know if I answered your question, Daniel.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so get ready for the second case study. So this is the second case study. This is what management said. Management said, we want better leadership. The leaders, these people that they call leaders, that in short, they don't understand what is happening. That we want leaders that will lead correctly, that will lead with the right attitude, that will lead well. We want better leadership. It is time for you to define what management means now. How do you define the expectations? Everyone is silent.
No, we are digesting, huh? Digesting first.
Okay, let me patiently wait for you to digest. I'm waiting. Okay, is there anybody? Okay, if there's nobody, let me move ahead. Don't worry, this ROE, next week again, we are going to do it. At least let's do it for 2-3 weeks. You need to practice it. Your assignment to be where you're going to practice it on your own. And what I want you to also do when coming next week, come with real management expectations on a training. Come with it. Let's talk about it. Let's help you define it. I think that would also help you. So, however, you need to practice it. So this was what management said. We want better leadership after this training. Okay, management has spent over 5 million Kenya shillings, 5 million naira on training, $5 million, and send their leaders on a leadership training. And they said, when after this training, they want better leadership in this organization. And so discussions we had with management. What do you mean by better leadership, sir? Maz, what does better leadership mean? What is the pain point? What is the challenge that you're saying that you need better leadership? And this was what management said. Why management says this? This is what management said. Management said, we've heard that employees complain that their managers are not approachable. And some of them lack emotional intelligence. Is that the leaders that will lead this country to where we are? To lead this company to where we want the company to go to? No. The leaders, they must be approachable. Open door policy. They must have emotional intelligence. This was another pain point. Leadership said, management said, decisions are delayed because the managers, they don't delegate. Why will managers not delegate? They keep micromanaging their people. Why are they doing that? They should stop micromanaging people. They should learn to delegate. How can they be doing the things that their direct reports should be doing? That means that's why they don't have time to think strategically. Another management now said again that the staff turnover is high. And they said it's because managers fail to motivate or support growth. That's why people are leaving. The managers, they will not support the growth of the people. They will not motivate them. Why won't people leave? It seems this crop of managers we have now, it seems something has to be done with them. That's why we are saying send them on training. If not, we will do something very radical. Send them on training. Why won't they motivate their people? Why won't they support the growth of their people? That's management's pain. Another management pain is it said escalations clog the senior leadership because The managers, they don't resolve issues at their level. Why can't they resolve just simple issues? They're sending it to senior leadership when they should be able to resolve issues at their level. And last but not the least, they said cross-departmental initiatives stall because the managers lack influence and collaboration skills. They don't influence their people. They don't make sure their people are collaborating. So these are the challenges, the pain point of why the management said, send our leaders on leadership training. And after this training, they must be better leaders. How do you want to go about this? At least I've given you expo now. How do you want to go about this? Is there anybody that wants to try? Okay. Okay, so okay, because of time. When you hear management saying we want better leadership, there's something, so it's from the questions you ask, see what all the things they are saying. See all the things they are saying. That the employees say managers are not approachable, or they lack emotional intelligence, they don't delegate, they micromanage us, they don't motivate us, they don't support growth, they don't resolve issues, and they don't influence us. It's very possible that when management is saying this, better leadership, they're either saying stop micromanagement, reduce escalations, create people, leaders who will be able to empower people and deliver results. So your role as HR and L&D is to do what? Take these expectations and put numbers around them. The challenge why HR and L&D do not have a seat at the table is you don't speak to numbers. Management likes numbers. So even these expectations of theirs, you can turn them into numbers. You saw the first case study we've done. Now, we didn't even go in depth because after doing that, you're supposed to have a conversation with the departments that give you these numbers and find out before the training, where were we? We said we want to change for you to get those numbers. So before we were at 50%, what was the value we were rendering in numbers? And that's why you must ensure that you have good handshake with the finance department and the departments that are involved in this, so that they will be able to give you those numbers. Now, after that, for us to be able to move, we did the training, we put up the behaviors we said we wanted to see, we moved from 50% to 70%. Now, what was that figure in monetary term as at when it was 50%? Now we've moved to 75%. What was that figure? Finance can do, it's in the dashboard. They can calculate that and give you. Very simple. Automated process. And you see what the difference was, how it moved. Because guess what? ROI, to get ROI is just what you had less the cost of that training over the cost of the training. That's in percentage you get. And see, so we did a training, that's when you get it in percentage. So for instance, you ran a training worth of 5 million, right? And you wanted to see the returns, and at the end what you're getting is like 7 million. Calculate that, you get the percentage. Even looking at that, you're already seeing that you had an improvement, you had a growth. So there was a growth in the numbers, and there was a change in the expectations, because there was something management wanted. So it was not just the numbers that moved. Those expectations that management wanted also moved. Something changed. So you must be able to define those things. You must be able to define those things. So let's continue. Let me be faster. Let's continue with this case study. And so the response to that, one, we looked at employee retention and engagement. An indicator showed that right now that the rate of attrition is 18%. That's high. 18% is high. Yeah. So the normal rate of attrition should be between 8 to 10%. That it's fair. That they say, okay, that's okay. Between 8 to 10% is okay, but not 18%. 18% is a high attrition rate. So that was when they calculated with everything management said. This find one of the from the expectations. They said, let's look at employee retention and engagement, because they said people are just leaving, and it says because they're not motivated. We looked at it, 18%. Now we need to bring that down from 18% to 10%. So what are the things you do to bring that down? That is a different ball game. Another indicator was increased engagement survey scores. So the first engagement survey scores, it was done, and they found out that the score was 62%. So in order for us to get what management is saying, let us increase the engagement scores that people have on leadership. Let us increase it from 62% to 80%, because when the survey was done, which was a quantitative survey, their confidence in leadership was 62%. Let's increase to 80%. So what are the things you do to increase it is a different story. It's a different kettle of fish. We are still just trying to define and measure return on expectation and trying to define it. So let me just move faster. I have just 18 minutes more. Another thing they found out was decision making and delegation. And the indicator was the percentage of tasks or projects completed without senior level escalation. Most of the tasks, 50% of the tasks, were the only things. Others, 50%, they will escalate. They will escalate. They cannot. Only 50% they could do on their own. We need to move it. And when you're setting these objectives, you must be using the SMART principle. You must make sure it's achievable. They are in 50%. You want to move it to 100%. You're wasting it. It may happen. However, I prefer to under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver. So instead of 50% to 100%, why don't we stay little bits? So they said, now we want people to be on their own without escalating to senior level. They should move up to 75%. At least that's a 25% increase within 3 months. That's an indicator. Another indicator is they found out that the average turnaround time for decisions at the team level was 10 days. Said, no, that's too much. Let's reduce it. This is just team level. Let's reduce it. Reduce it to 5 days. We've not finished though. So still on, they also define team development and empowerment. They found out that the percentage of staff who report receiving coaching and feedback from managers, which was 40%. It is managers' duty to coach their people and give feedback. Managers must coach and give feedback. Can you imagine in that organization only 40%? No. That means how would the people develop? How would they be developed? How would they be? That's why the managers are still micromanaging them. Because by the time you coach your people, you're empowering them to be able to deliver results even when you're not there. Some managers would want to be there every time. When they're on vacation, they'll still be calling them. Anybody that is calling you when you're on vacation, that means you don't know your work. Why are they calling? They should call you only when it's necessity. If not, when you're on vacation, The team should move. They should do their work. But if they keep calling you, it means that you've not done your work. You've not done what you should do. Some managers, they'll be on vacation. They'll be calling them every day. How do we do? You feel you're important. You're not important. I don't want to use a wrong word because this is YouTube and this would always be online. You're not important. Take note. You're not. That they're calling you every day doesn't make you important. That's one indicator. Another indicator is increase in internal promotions for manager-led teams. They found out that in these various teams, they hardly get internal promotion. In a year, one. That means there's why can't we promote people from within? We will be spending money to recruit people. What's happening with the people inside? Because you are not empowering them, because you are not giving them the skills, guiding them. You're not grooming them, you're not growing them. That is why whenever there's a vacancy, we go and recruit. No. Management, internal promotions. Every year, at least 3 people within a year. Let's promote people. Let's stop. It's more costly for us to recruit from outside. Another thing they defined was conflict resolution. An indicator was the percentage of conflict resolved at the manager level was very low. How can only 30% conflict were resolved at manager level? What is happening? Why? So they said, no, this has to get to 70% in 3 months. You can see why he said, we need good, effective leadership. But that good, effective leadership, you must define what it means. What does we need? Very good leadership. Leadership that know what they are doing. Those are stories. However, those are stories that are pain points of management. It's now your duty as HR and L&D to define those pain points of management into measurable terms so that you would have a seat at the table, so that you will show returns on your training, so that before they take any decision, they call you. When they want to cut budgets, they will not touch your budget. A lot of you, they touch your budget. You don't even have seat at the table. What is seat? You don't even have standing space at the table, not to talk of a seat. You need to change that narrative as an HR, as an L&D. Another indicator is reduction in formal HR interventions. Every time they're going to HR, one case or the other, HR says every quarter they are getting like 12 cases. Why will people keep going to HR with case from this department, HR? Is that what HR, we brought HR to be solving cases? No, it has to be reduced. Meaning that you need to solve it, conflict within yourself. That same, you can see they are related. Conflict resolution, resolve it at your level. Stop sending it to HR. So these are, at this point in time, let me pause. What are the questions you may have? What are the questions you may have? What are the questions you may have on return on expectation? So we are in question and answer now. Let me allow you to digest. As I'm allowing you to digest it, let me be showing you other things, so that because of time, let me allow you to be digesting it. As you're digesting it, let me be showing you other things.
Okay, mine is not really a question, but okay, maybe a request that maybe I would be glad if we would go over this maybe again for more clarity, if it's
Definitely
possible.
Yes, it is very possible. So what we decided to do, we call the return on expectation mini series. So it's within our training transfer effectiveness series. So we are all about return on investment, return on expectation. That's what we've been doing since January. So Samson, my colleague, yes, he has posted our YouTube channel. Go and watch the videos. We've done up to Samson. How many videos do we have now? I guess up to 24 videos, if I'm not mistaken. Samson, do you have an idea?
26.
You can imagine 26 videos, all geared towards showing return on investment and return on expectations for your training investments. That's what the videos are all about. So it will help you. Go and start watching it. 26 videos. Go and start watching it. It will help you. So this is what we've been doing, and that's what this webinar is all about. We want organizations to stop. Haven't you seen, I'm sure in your organization, you send people on training, yet you cannot prove the money you used to send them on training. You cannot prove the returns. You send people on training, they come back, they are still doing the same thing. They've not changed. It's as if the money,
or even worse.
Or even worse. When you're so correct. Or even worse.
You see, sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes the mentality which people carry around when they go for training, instead of taking it as a learning session for them to leverage or gain or to strengthen areas where they are weak on, they take it like an off time. Yes, some paid leisure time to go and maybe eat the dishes at the hotel. Like I'm out of where the eyes and the policies, and every time I'm required to be on my toes doing my thing. So taking that relaxed mood, but sometimes dealing with human hearts is difficult.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why there's a starting point. So you need to watch those videos. There's a starting point. You need to start. Yes, reorientating your people. Because the problem is everyone in the ecosystem. Now we have what we call the TT, the Training Transfer Effectiveness Ecosystem. There are 6 components that make up this ecosystem. We already have that video on our YouTube. Leadership have their own part to play. Leadership, executive management. The L&D and the HR, they have their own part to play. The employees, just like the problem you just said now, they have their own part to play. The trainers who come and train, either the training organization or the trainers in the organization or the training company you bring, they have their own part to play. The line managers, we've seen line managers that told people, oh, you've gone for that training, whatever it is you've learned, just leave it there. Come back and let's continue what we are doing here. Hi. So that means the organization just wasted that money, and you're telling them since they've come back, you are going to continue how you have been doing things, which is the wrong way. You want to continue it. The line managers have their own role to play. Then the workplace has its own role to play, and the resources, the workplace and the resources. Some people they will send them on training, on maybe Excel training. They will come back, they don't have a system to use. They don't even have Microsoft Excel on their laptop. How do you want them to now practice what they've learned? Some people will say, this training that they sent me on, I don't need it. I don't know why I'm in this training. Haven't you heard that before? I've heard this several times. Employees will tell me, Madam, I don't know why they sent me on this training. This training is not for me. HR has started again. Some will say, this training, I went for it last year. Why are they putting me again? I have so much work to do in the office. Why is HR sending me? So see where you have the what we call in Nigeria scatter. You have things, everyone doing the wrong things. These 6 players must come together to get it right. And so we talked about it in the videos we've done. So that would help you too, right? Okay. So we are still yes, please.
Yeah, I want to say a big welcome to 2 of my recommended friends that have joined us.
Wow. Patience, I didn't even know when you joined.
Yeah, I want to say Dinah and Adjoel. Thank you so much for using the link and joining. You are most welcome. I know you will learn a lot. So please keep coming and go and watch the videos. I beg you. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Patience. Patience is awesome. Patience is in Ghana. She's one of the person that is doing great things. She's even preparing to have a session with the HR there in Ghana. Right? Well done, Patience. Thank you so much for inviting Dana and Adriel. Well, I hope you've gotten value, Dana and Adriel. I hope you did get value.
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you so much. So what is your next line of action? What's your next line of action? I have just 5 minutes. What's your next line of action? So while you're thinking of what your next line of action will be, I want you to think between now and next week, what is one practical thing you're going to do? Patience has done one practical thing. She invited Diana and Adriel. The remaining people, what one practical thing you will do from now till next week Thursday we would meet. Think about
Committing
it. Okay, good.
Committing to do 2 videos. I definitely am going into that YouTube channel.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So definitely, I'm going to ask you next week what you learned from the 2 videos you watch. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. That is wonderful. By the way, Patience has done 10 videos, if not more than. Patience, how many videos have you done? Patience she's a crazy learner. I've never seen a crazy learner like her. She's done so many videos. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, she's done so many videos. In conclusion, do you want help? Do you need help as an organization? We are here for you. Let us talk. Come. That's what we do for organizations. That's what we are doing for organizations around Africa. I've been going around Africa. I was in Ghana in May. We did here in Nigeria in June. I was in Rwanda this August. In October, I'll be in Kenya. That's true, Manny. I'm coming to Kenya in October.
I can't wait.
So drop your number on the chat box and your email. My colleagues Samson and Kamsi, they will take it. We'll reach out to you. I'm coming to Kenya in October. So we're having a breakfast meeting in October. So I'm coming to Kenya. So do you need help? Let us talk about how we can help you to build or repair your ecosystem. This is what we've been doing for organizations, and organizations have been they've been saying thank you so much for what we have been doing for them. Another way, again, we can help you is join our mastermind program. We have one already on. It's called Cohort 1. So mastermind program is a 14 weeks training, hands-on, practical. Those that have been in the Cohort 1, their minds are blowing. They said, where have I been? Why didn't I learn this sense? One said, I now have the confidence to talk to my line managers and show them that the training needs must align with business objectives. Another one said, Coach Sandra is in my head. Coach Sandra has made me to lose training because I'm hearing her say to me, don't take any training that is not going to give you that the organization will not allow you to show return on investment or return on expectation. And she says, but I know that those that want value will come back to me, right? So let me be fast. I have just 2 minutes. So join the mastermind Cohort 2. It's coming up, Cohort 2. We are starting Monday, October 6th. It's virtual and it's just $2,500. Now we have a payment plan. So send us an email to info@mbryanconsultinggroup.com. Samson, please put up our email, or Kamsi, any of you, put up our email, info@mbryanconsultinggroup.com. Mbryan is MBRYAN consultinggroup.com. Send us an email, subject, right, cohort, mastermind Cohort 2, and tell us, we have like 4 different payment plan. Tell us the one you want to use, and we'll help you out with that to ensure that you get value. You can invite me to speak with your leadership team. Reach out. Let us stop training for the sake of training. Rather, let us build for transfer. Let us build for transformation. And lastly, every impact training starts with a bold conversation. Have those conversations. Old ways won't open new doors. You want to see return on investment, return on expectations for your training, then you must do what you're not doing before. You must change. And last but not the least, this is what I also say. Return on expectation begins where clarity starts. Until expectations are defined in measurable terms, they remain invisible. And what is invisible can never be proven. Those are my words. I remain Sandra the Oracle, Africa's leading voice on training transfer effectiveness. And so this is the mastermind. It's the top 3 benefits of masterminds. So we reduced it from 18 weeks to 14 weeks. It's now 14 weeks, starting with October 6th. To help you to demonstrate your measurable return on investment and return on expectations for true effective training, You engage stakeholders and build buy-in for your training initiatives, and you position yourself as a strategic leader, not just a training facilitator, not just an order taker as HR. And last but not the least, this is the big news. For the first time in Africa and in the world, we are having this conference. It's called the International Training Transfer Effectiveness Conference. It is holding in Lagos, Nigeria, November 13 and 14, 2025. It is hybrid. So if you cannot come all the way to Lagos, Nigeria, every experience you will get, those joining fiscal you will get it virtual. We created a state-of-the-art platform whereby you will have those experiences. And so for you to register, go to www.mbrandconsultinggroup.com, click on ITT conference. When you get to the conference website, then you register. For virtual attendees, it's just only $350. Register somebody, and if you invite somebody, you will get a discount. Yeah, so if you want to invite somebody and the person registers, let us know, send us an email, and you will get a discount. So that is the conference that is holding. It's a premier conference, and these are the speakers that will be joining in, coming from different parts of the world. And these are the certificates. You know, all those certifications I was rolling out when I was talking, you can get it. And I think I have the price list here. Yes. So for the Kirkpatrick, for all those that are going to be going to iTech, if you check on Kirkpatrick's website, it's about $2,500 or so dollars, over $2,000. But because you're joining iTech, you're going to be paying just $1,050. For the certified transfer designer, again, it's in euros, over 2,000 euros. But because you're joining iTech, you're registering for iTech, you're going to pay just $1,550. For the third certification, accelerated learning certification to become an accelerated learning expert, it's about over $1,000. You'll be paying $950. And the last certification, the IFC LPI TPMA certification by the IFC, it's about $650, $700, but because of iTech, you'll be getting it at $550. So all this certification, you're going to be paying just $4,100 if you want all of them. If not, you can just do one or two, whichever. And on this note, I just want to say, finally, be happy and feel good about yourself always. Thank you. And I remain Coach Sandra Ihenacho, aka The Oracle, Africa's leading voice on training transfer effectiveness. That's my LinkedIn. Follow me, follow our organization. Something, please drop all our links, our social media links. Let them follow us. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is I will put something that you just click on and be able to follow us. So I'll put our social media links next time so you can look at it and follow us. So let me stop sharing. And I would let me also stop recording, so that what I usually do, I wait after that to see if there are people that will have questions that they want to ask me. So let me stop recording. So good night, everyone. Have a beautiful night rest. I will stay back to take questions. Have a beautiful night rest. See you next week, Thursday.